All right, let's talk about the movie called Hard Days, man. So you got this dude named Kudo. He's trying to drive in the rain or whatever, but he's trying to get to this hospital because his mom's in the hospital or whatever like that. His wife is there and his daughter Mina's there too. So he's trying to get there as fast as he can. He's in the rain, and all of a sudden he gets a call from his superiors, and they're saying that he was taking bribes and stuff like that, but his superior had told him to do it. So they're gonna try to cover for him, but they're coming down hard on him and shit too. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Then his ex-wife calls him back and tells him, like, yeah, your mom just passed away in the hospital. So, like, he's distraught, all this other stuff. And then he has to swerve over the road because this one girl ran into the road. Like, she ran out the other way, whatever, like that. But he ends up hitting this other dude in the middle of the fucking road. So he's like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden, the cop car is coming the other way. He's like, oh, shit. But the cop car ends up going in another direction. So, like, all right, with no choice, he ends up wrapping up the body, putting it in the trunk, you know what I'm saying, going off. He makes a left towards this one way. He's supposed to be going to the hospital. It ends up being a daggone check stop. So we're like, oh, my God. Turns out Kudo is actually a detective. So they check for people that's been drinking, breathalyzers, all that type of shit, right? Then they saw a crack in his window. They was like, hey, what's good with that window? You straight, yo? On the windshield. So he get paranoid after they acting like they trying to check the trunk. He's like, oh, shit. Then this dude comes out of nowhere. Is like, hey, what's going on with all this ruckus? It ends up being some guy by the name of Inspector Yuji. Inspector Yuji tells him the situation. He's like, look, man, my mom just passed away. I'm trying to hurry up and get to the hospital to see my all this other stuff, right? So the inspector just lets him go. Because apparently they work for the same district. He said, as long as you come to my desk tomorrow morning. And he's like, all right. So he finally gets to the hospital with a body in the trunk, I might add. And while they're trying to straighten out everything, everybody keeps calling him from this district talking about something. Yeah, yo, what's going on? That. Because apparently Inspector Yuji ends up popping up at his daggone facility. And he tells his superiors and stuff like, man, I'll just wait for him here. I'm like, okay. So when Kudo's boss calls and whatever like that, he's like, look, man, I got to make the arrangements. I ain't going to be able to get there until tomorrow. So that he tells Inspector Yuji or whatever like that. He's like, all right, fine, cool. Meanwhile, his ex-wife don't know what the fuck is going on because bottom line is we finding out that they're supposed to be getting a divorce and he ain't signed the papers yet. So it's like all type of shit going haywire for Kudo, you know what I'm saying? So after he gets out there, his boss is telling him to meet him in a certain spot. We're going to be over here in like 15 minutes. He's like, what the fuck? So he ends up getting to the spot. He's playing around with this grape, but then all of a sudden the boys pop up right there. We're just like, yo, what the fuck? So like, what's going on with you? You good? You know what I'm saying? And he started acting suspicious. And then they check the trunk. And we're like, oh shit, it's about to be a problem. So they check the trunk and nothing's in the trunk. We're like, how'd he move the body that fast? Well, apparently he already moved it in the grate before they got there. The crazy thing is that grate that he put that body in happens to be in front of the funeral service that they're going to have for his mom. Nigga. Or the viewing building, whatever you want to call it. So after the cops go about their business, you know what I'm saying, his ex-wife and Mina end up meeting him over there in the spot where his mom's supposed to be at or whatever, right? Because apparently the hospital just moved bodies out of there quick, you know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, they got to make room for other people. I'm just like, okay. So he tells his wife and Nina to go home, you know what I'm saying? He'll stay with the body, whatever, like that, you know, get their, you know, his last time viewing them and stuff like that, right? But we all know what the reason he's about to do. Now, I thought he was going to try to figure out some way to cremate the body, but then he realized they got a security guard in the mortuary, so this is what he's going to do. He's dragging the body through the grates so it can, you know what I'm saying, end up in the same room. So then he's going to put the body in the casket with his mom, you know what I'm saying, wrap it around, whatever, like that to make it look like there's not two bodies in there. I'm like, nigga. Then he closes the casket. Then all of a sudden, this ice cream ringtone comes up, and I'm thinking to myself, oh no. I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck did he forget about this ringtone? Because the crazy shit was when the cops almost caught him, that shit was going off too. I'm like, nigga. Keep in mind, it happened at the little cop stop. It happened when the superiors came to talk to him. And now it's happening inside the casket. 3 fucking times. You didn't think to get that goddamn phone? So it goes back in the casket, gets the phone before anybody comes over to the door. Now, the 2 guys come to the door, whatever like that. They got to put dry ice, you know what I'm saying, to make sure the casket's good, whatever like that. So he decides to put the dry ice in there himself. Now he's got to tilt the door towards them so they can't see what the fuck he's doing, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what? Now, after getting that done, this dude by the name of Simba comes, right? Now, Simba, he's the guy that he was doing a couple bribes for, you know, back in the day or whatever like that. But it's like, yo, they can't be seen around each other. So then Simba gives them this little story or whatever, right? Tells them about a way that he can make some money and get up out of here, right? So he talks about these government officials and they trade back and forth with temples and stuff like that, right? They trade back and forth for millions of dollars like each year or whatever. Now, the thing is, he knows what a temple is, but he don't know the combination. There's actually 2 things you need. You need a key card and you need somebody's fingerprint. Now, the thing is, he don't want you to try to steal anything from the temple. He wants you to get in contact with this dude by the name of Oda. Oda ended up stealing $100 million from these niggas in the temple. Basically, you steal the money from Oda, find him, you get the fuck up out of here, do what you gotta do. Here's the crazy shit, right? He tells his superiors they put a APB or whatever like on this dude named Oda. Do you know who Oda is? Oda is the same guy Kudo killed going to the fucking hospital. Nigga. So now he basically done put out an investigation on himself. The fuck? So now they find out what his hideout is, and they don't find nothing. Of course, Kudo knows they ain't gonna find shit. Then he goes in the streets and finds his earring or whatever like that. And then one of his coworkers goes over and points to the sky, and he's like, "Yo, they got security camera over there." We're like, "Oh shit!" So they go through all the stuff with the security camera, but the thing is, the picture's fuzzy, whatever like that, and they can't see nothing. So now Kudo's glad about that. Now he can go to the funeral. Now before they head to the funeral, Kudo talked to the inspector, right? The inspector said, "Look, we ain't worried about no bribes and nothing like that. We can sweep that under the rug. Is there anything you want to tell me?" He's just like, "Nah, I'm good." So they swept that under the rug, you know what I'm saying? Now it's time for him to go to the funeral. Now he was at Oda's hideout. He was getting text messages by himself, and he was like, "Yeah, I know what you did. I knew you killed Oda." So it was like some random unknown callers hitting him with this, like, who the fuck is this? Who the fuck is hitting him with this shit? So it gets to a point right before he gets to the funeral, he's still in the car, right? He gets a call, and he was like, "Yo, get in the car." And he's like, yeah, I know you killed Oda, yo. Bring him over here at 5 o'clock or something gonna happen. So he texts us back like, "Oh, so you think I buried him or something?" I ain't burying him, you know what I'm saying? The fuck, hey, you think you know something, you ain't know nothing. Get out of my face. He hangs up the phone, right? And then his door opens and he gets yanked out the car. Turns out the inspector, Yuji, was the one yanking him out the car, just beating him up. He was like, "Where's Oda? You have returned him back. Well, bottom line is, you ain't never gonna see your daughter again." And then we see Mina in his car, and I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck did he get a hold of Mina? Now we go down to the inspector's backstory. So we find out Yuji was supposed to be Oda's right-hand man and shit. And we find out Yuji at this one point in time was about to get married to the boss's daughter. You know what I mean? He's pretty much in the family. But obviously they was on the case to find Oda, you know what I'm saying? Because he stole $100 million and shit. So at the wedding, this chick by the name of Chiba, she gives him this like thing you're supposed to put your handprint in or whatever. It's like supposed to be customary or like tradition, you know what I'm saying? To put on like a thing of clay or whatever. And then his wife is going to do the same thing. Here's the crazy part though. He had the print for the safe, but he didn't have the key card. But he still kind of knew where the safe was. So the thing about the handprint, turns out this chick Chiba that made him do it, she's actually the chick that works for Oda. Yeah. She was the chick that was running away before Oda got hit by a car by Kudo. And it turns out in Oda's hideout, he's got all his high-tech equipment and whatnot. He basically used his handprint to change his fingerprints away from the fingerprints for the safe shit. So now he doesn't even have that access to open up. So now anything has to go through Oda to get to the damn safe. So that obviously pissed off the boss. So bottom line is like, he's going to make sure he finds Oda, period. Because this money's supposed to be helped to trade with the temples, you know what I'm saying? To get with government officials and all this other shit. So we get to this scene where Yuji actually finds out where Oda's hideout is. The thing is, Chiba's the only one in there at the time. So basically, Oda's supposed to be coming back after a deal went south with some Yakuza niggas. Because bottom line is, Yuji was actually going to hire the Yakuza to go find this nigga. He was going to get the Yakuza like 10 million, but the thing is, the Yakuza figured out what the situation was. He was like, "Yeah, we want 100 million. He's like, "Look, man, if we don't get Oda, then there's no money." You know what I'm saying? He's like, "Yeah, I hear you." So Yuji basically gets the drop on Oda, right? Right when he's about to level Oda, Chiba just somehow gets a briefcase and snacks the gun out of his hand, and they start running. So this is the part where they start running. At the same time, Chiba is getting out of the way because Kudo's coming through. And we found out Yuji ended up shooting Oda 3 times before he even hit the street, and that's when Kudo hit him. And Yuji was the one that saw the whole shit go down. When Kudo stuffed him in the trunk and then was seen a cop or whatever like that and was going through and then like going through that whole turnpike and then Inspector got it. He basically, saw the whole shit go down. And that's why he was acting so nonchalant when it came to Kudo. A bigger reason why they didn't care about the bribes he was taking. He's worried about that 100 million. He's worried about Oda. You know what I'm saying? But that's why he needs Oda's body. Because the safe only matches up with his fingerprints and DNA now. And I think he still got the key card. So Kudo ends up coming back to the funeral with a bloody face. He ends up talking to his ex-wife. He's like, "Man, they kidnapped Mina. I'm going to get her back," and everything like that. So now after this, he ends up going to Simba, ends up getting some weapons and stuff like that. But he ends up really giving him a bomb too. So you're thinking to yourself, what's he going to do with this bomb? Well, even before all that, when he goes back to the funeral, he's got to find a way to sneak out Oda's body without anybody detecting him and shit after they put him in the daggone, casket, the little wall caskets or whatever. But before he's able to do that, one of his coworkers, Kenji, pops up on him, right? So you think to yourself, why did he pop up on him all of a sudden out the blue? Well, it turns out it was another security camera that read his license plate. You're like, oh shit. But Kenji's going to help out Kudo. But here's this thing I forgot to mention. So when he put Oda's body in the trunk or whatever like that, it was a little bit of blood stains left in the trunk. So the next day, this is what he decides to do before he was supposed to meet up with an inspector. He sees a cop pulling over somebody to stop right. And then all of a sudden, he just rams his car straight into the cop's car. I'm like, what the heck was that for? He rammed it because he knew the car was going to get impounded. So it's pretty much scraps. I was like, Nigga, that's actually kind of smart. But the only reason he got away with that is because he's a detective. So I was like, the fuck? And technically, he shouldn't have got away with that. But anyway. So now Kenji's helping him out. He told Kenji the whole story or whatever like that. And then he sees the bullet holes that are actually in Oda's back. So basically, that lets him know he was already dead before he hit him with the car. So the phone starts ringing again. And then he gets an idea. He's like, okay. He uses Oda's fingerprint to actually be able to access through the phone or whatever. He goes through the list of calls. And it's a lot of calls from the inspector. And it's a couple of calls from Chiba. So he pretends to be Oda for a second, and basically they're going to meet her up at the warehouse, the hideout or whatever. Of course, they end up catching her, tying her up, and all that other stuff. But they did all that just to get some information out of her and whatnot. So afterwards, that's when he goes to Simba or whatever like that, or he's about to. He ends up getting a call from Yuji or whatever like that, tells him to step out the car because it's him and Kenji in the car at the same time. And he tells him to step away from the car or whatever like that. All of a sudden, the oil drum comes down, drops on Kenji. He's done doing daddy shit. I'm like, what? So he basically tells him to bring him a body at a certain location or bottom line is his daughter's done deal. So like I said, Simba gave him some bombs and stuff like that, and now they're going to the thing. Now I'm going to tell you what the bombs are for. Before he wrapped Oda back up, he did cut off one of his fingers, though. You know, for the fingerprint and shit. So now Kudo meets up with Yuji, you know what I'm saying? They're about to exchange the bodies, whatever like that. But the thing is, he actually put the bomb in the body. Gets his daughter back safe and sound, gets her in the car. This nigga Yuji still trying to talk and shit, but he's thinking to himself, like, I only set that bomb for like 4 minutes. So I was like, fuck. As soon as he sees it blink and he ducks out the way, all of a sudden, freaking car explodes and throws itself into the fucking water. You know, it's done deal. I'm like, all right, Yuji's done deal that is shit, right? There's no fucking way he survived that damn car bomb. So basically, Kudo gets his daughter Mina back to his ex-wife, gives her this sad little message, and then just heads out. Now, we know where he's going. He's going to that damn safe. So basically, he puts the key card in there, checks that. Then it goes to the other spot. He puts the fingerprint in there, checks that, opens up the door. The $100 million is sitting there on top of joints. We was just like, oh, shit. So while he's going through it, all of a sudden he hears footsteps, and I'm like, ain't no goddamn way, yo. As soon as he turn around, this motherfucker Yuji is standing at the door. I'm like, how did he survive that car bomb? It literally blew the car into two halves, and both halves sunk into the sea, yo. How did he survive this? So then they get into the ultimate shootout or whatever like that. They end up wasting a bunch of bullets. And then they fighting all over the cemetery and shit. Then they get tired. Kudo does this super slam, ends up breaking his goddamn neck, or so we thought. And all of a sudden, Kudo gets tasered by nowhere. By who? By Simba. So him and his boys are going to take the money for himself. But the crazy thing is, Simba's not even behind this whole plot. Guess who's behind the whole shit? It's Chiba, who happens to be his granddaughter. What in all of the fuck? So basically, Kudo wakes up the next morning. He's left with nothing. He gets in the car, gets on the phone with his ex-wife, whatever like that. He talks to her and says, you know what I mean, try to make this thing work one more time. And all of a sudden, somebody rams into his car, yo. We turn around. I'm like, yo, you got to be fucking with me, yo. It's goddamn Yuji's back again. And they're ramming into each other's cars. You're thinking to yourself, somebody's going to run somebody off this daggone bridge. And then all of a sudden, it just ends. I'm like, what? And then we get this cutscene when they come back to Oda. It turns out he actually owed money to Simba in the first place. And that's the only reason he stole it out the temple, yo. Yo, it was a whole bunch of manipulation throughout this entire thing. Man, this movie was crazy, yo. It actually reminds me of a movie I did a while ago, a movie called Restless. I feel like Restless is like the Polish version of Hard Days, you know what I mean? And all this happened in a span of 3 days. Crazy. From December 28th all the way to the 1st of January. Hard Days on Netflix. Check that shit out.